Breaking news. Horns are growing out of young people's skulls due to cell phone use. You might think this is some kind of fluke, but in fact, this is being reported everywhere. Geek.com says, hell yeah, teens are growing skull horns from phone use. So, look, this technology is the devil's technology. It's growing horns in people's heads. They've got the x-rays to prove it. Now, of course, they're going to try and spin this all sorts of ways like this is normal. It's an adaptation for, how you're, looking at your phone. But this is a clear sign, an omen, if you will, that this is the devil's technology. Have no doubt about it. It's the beast system. When you look at the, genesis of, the modern telecommunications business with Lucent Technologies, Luciferian Enterprise is what it stands for, which was headquartered at 666 Fifth Avenue, which is currently, closely related to 666 Pennsylvania Avenue, if you can believe that. But you can look at these articles for yourself. And one thing is clear. The Luciferian press is like, hell yeah. Teens are growing skull horns from phone use. This is, the mutation by design that they were looking for. This is telling them that they're in the right direction. That, if they want to turn the world into a Luciferian hellhole, then this is the way to go. But it's been like this for quite some time. And who knows where they're channeling this technology from, really. But I think we've got a very good idea, if you will, where is all of this technology coming from. You can tell them by their fruits. Evil is as evil does. The more things look Luciferian, sadistic, evil, the closer you are to a source, a black hole into the abyss, to the dark side, to the devil. And, whether it be the cell phones or other components or sectors of this beast system, like the entertainment industry, which includes the news, it's all entertainment script readers, actors, just, feeding you propaganda to feed the delusion of the Matrix out there. And while people are, busy with the entertainment, with the bread and circus, here comes the eugenics through the water, through the food, and through, the death towers. Look at this power supply. These cables represent megawatts of power. And supposedly, these, death towers are supposed to top off at about 500 watts per rectenna. What this tells us is that these death towers are weaponized, and we can't stress the importance of understanding what's going on in the electric field or the electromagnetic spectrum enough. We can't stress, how important it is to be aware of what you're getting dosed with. Because all of the studies are saying for sure that anything above 1 milliwatt per meter squared on average is dangerous. And we're talking about impacts, not only, the world famous brain cancers that are associated with, wireless technologies, but these electric fields have a huge impact on your immune system, on your cell membranes, and the like, on your skin. And there's all sorts of, disorders and effects that are linked to exposure to electromagnetic radiation. Now, the FCC basically tops off, or starts the danger zone where it starts having thermal effects when it starts nuking you like a microwave. And potentially that's what these things can do. And we're looking at the dangerous frequencies of between 30 and 300 megahertz that turn your bones into passive resonators for this energy. And, we've been talking about, beam formation and the lobes that are formed from these, directional antennas, which is measured in gain. You've probably heard that expression before, gain or dBi or decibels. Compared to an isotropic antenna. Well, in fact, between 30 and 300, all of a sudden it resonates and turns your bones into an antenna as well. This happens, with metallic structures and buildings. that, metal that begins to approach the wavelength of a particular frequency turns that element into a passive antenna that creates its own beams. It's a real interesting phenom that we're starting to look at. And most of the bones are a certain size in the body, but you get some small ones like your teeth that are probably resonating somewhere around the centimeter waves that are used for cell phones and the like. Regardless, this technology is not safe. The limits that are out there are way too high, and we can't stress enough that people should get a meter. Now, we found the best meter for the dollar, and we advise people to shop around, research, understand what these things are picking up. Don't get the El Cheapo from Home Depot that just does electric and magnetic fields. You want to see the radiation, the radio frequencies that are being emitted in terms of milliwatts per meter squared from these devices. Stressing the word device, like devil. It's funny how those things kind of relate. Evil, devil, device, DEVI, Santa Claus. What this beast system is up to, but we're not going to segue into all of that. It's important to understand what you're being exposed to. Anything above 1 milliwatt per meter squared is considered extreme according to biologists and scientists, and we're seeing more and more studies of like farm animals keeling over due to this radiation and the like. If it's killing cows, imagine what it's doing to people. And and they're just going to pass it off as some kind of like natural cause. It was suicide or whatever. How they are these days with all of these Hillary witnesses that have gone missing and other witnesses and the like. This system is shady, and any three-letter agency out there is basically representing the beast system by design. That doesn't mean that all the people working there are bad people, but these systems are put in place under the purview of the occupation of the dark side. It's like the pyramid on the back of the dollar bill. It's like the pentagram on the streets of Washington, D.C. The secular world is of the dark side. It's not the spiritual world. It's the secular world. It's the world of the devil. And they're out to get you any which way they can, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. They want your soul. And look, you've got all of these, idols and the like, telling you as much. And then you've got young people, worshiping these idols instead of going to church. You've got these young people being instructed in devolution instead of, creation. It's a system for, of, and by the devil. And when you look at this beast system, when you look at what they're pushing, when you look at, this latest news headline, horns are growing out of young people's skull, phone use is to blame. Undoubtedly, this is of the dark side. Everybody should be concerned here. The war is real. We're at war right now, not with the Iranians, not with the Romulans, with the devil. The devil and its demons walk the earth, and they're out there trying to, snatch your soul, body snatch you even. We've seen cases of that. We could get into the dark matrix, the hive mind that operates, that, is plotting your demise. Many people have, touched up against this phenomenon, and all of a sudden, they wake up to something and they're like, I'm a targeted individual. You're not alone. The dark matrix is out to get every Christian, every person of faith, and they're working actively against you wherever you go. But this technology is for, of, and by the dark side. It's for, of, and by the devil, and it's targeting the children most. And it wants to induce a mutation in the children that basically confines them to a world of spiritual darkness. And that's really the aim of the Matrix and its weaponized technologies. Again, we stress the importance of knowing what you're being exposed to. Not every place is the same. There are definitely hot zones out there in your city, in your town. Places where people congregate and crowd are usually targeted. And so you don't want to be loitering where all the other sheep are loitering. to say the least. You want to limit your exposure. You want to know what you're getting dosed with. You want to, you want to do the averages, and you want to be below 1 milliwatt per meter squared. This is what the scientific community is telling us. Mitigate your exposure. And if you have to deploy, shielding, that's something that you'll have to look into. We're looking into, affordable shielding options for people. We did a video, kind of like a satire but effective video on EMF shielding a couple days ago. Be sure to check that out in our video archives. But look, if you've got a death tower like right next to your room, and you can't move right away, obviously you want to put up shielding. But the best defense is not being exposed at all, because even shielding is going to cause phenoms like passive resonance that really are hard to determine. It's difficult to determine the effects, because all of a sudden it's not looking like a standard frequency and may not be detected at all. But in any case, that really is besides the point. What you do know is that you're being exposed right now, and usually it's worse in your home than it is next to the death tower. And due to the physics of wave formation, the worst spot isn't right next to death towers. Some people are like, oh, I don't want to live right next to it. These things are pointed somewhere, and their peak energy is about 200-300 yards in some sort of direction, wherever they're pointed at. And so you might think, oh, well, I'm 300 yards away, I should be okay. Well, you're actually in the hot zone. It creates a spotlight, like a flashlight. If you've ever pointed a flashlight on the floor and you see, the focal point of the beam, that's basically what's happening with this EMF radiation that's being emitted by the death towers. You don't want to be a mark out there. Now, look, we were going to get one for ourselves just because it's smart to get one. And we were looking at, the gigahertz solution for $400. We were looking at the acoustimeter for $300. We were looking at the tri-field meter for $200. And then we saw a video of the EMF 390. And we're like, what's this thing? I've never seen this before. We contacted the manufacturer in Seattle. And we're like, hey, this is a brilliant instrument here for $100. Does it work? And we had them send us a comparison video with the gigahertz solution and the tri-field, and the EMF 390 is as accurate as the gigahertz solution for $400 for the base model, and they go up depending on what kind of antennas or attenuators that you get for it, up to $1,000, and it doesn't see all of the frequency or bandwidth that the EMF 390 does. The EMF 390 sees 0 to 10 gigahertz. And it picks up electric and magnetic fields, but also everything from dirty electricity all the way up to radar at 10 gigahertz. And so this is, this is important, doubly important with the rollout of 5G, which is mostly going to operate at 3.5 gigahertz. The millimeter wave pads, at 26 gigahertz and the like, are really debatable as far as their efficiency for eugenics because of their penetration, their potential to penetrate. Millimeter waves really aren't as efficient as causing damage as things below 10 gigahertz. In fact, when you look at TV, radio, cell phone waves and the like, they go through walls, they go through buildings, which sets them apart from light, which is on the same spectrum but doesn't go through buildings. This energy goes through buildings, it goes through tissue, it goes through people, it goes through your head, it nukes you, it doses you, and the entire scientific community, bar the sellouts that are working for the telecommunications industry, the entire scientific community is like, the levels are way too high. These are causing all sorts of dastardly effects. We're seeing cancer clusters in schools and in neighborhoods around these death towers. Look, it's for sure that these things are trouble. These death towers are trouble, and long-term exposure is the root cause of these diseases and clusters and the like. And the entire community is like, these things are not safe. They don't want them anywhere near them. They write papers. They take their time to talk about the dangers of the cell phone towers, as well as the cell phones themselves. The cell phones themselves are deadly. If you read the fine print in the in the user's manual for your phone, it says, hold it at least like 10 centimeters to 2 feet away from you. But this is part of the program. They put this stuff out there so that you can kill yourself with it. They're like, hey, here, have some Mountain Dew. Here, come get a Happy Meal. Here, come get a cell phone. Unlimited minutes. All right. Oh, it's just Roundup. Don't worry about it. Look, this stuff is all out to get you. And they put a nice little label on it. They market it and make it seem like it's safe and wonderful, but it's all basically part of this beast system that's out to get you, ladies and gentlemen. Have no doubt about that. And so the question is, what can you do to avoid the worst of it? Well, don't be a sheeple out there. Don't just assume that everything that they're putting out there is safe, that they're telling you the truth. Whatever this system is that controls the television, it's more like they live than anything else. And if they're pushing a product, if they're promoting it, if they're saying it's safe or it's the right thing to do, it's the opposite of what they're saying. You can tell them by their fruits. Time and time again, you've seen the red flags. Don't just, think so. Know so, ladies and gentlemen. Start acting accordingly out there. These people are really out to get you. And look, given what we've seen with the EMF 390, we can't recommend it enough, because you're undoubtedly getting dosed right now in your home, at work, your kids at school, when you go to the shopping mall, when you go to the stadium, when you go, to the game, you're getting dosed. All of this stuff is basically become a death trap. All of the entertainment, all of the bread and circus has become a death trap for people. And it seems like they're upping the dose, they're accelerating the program, which means that, something big is coming down the pipeline sooner rather than later. And, we've been keeping track of technology, if you will. And it looks like they're going to roll out Terminators and the Skynet and the Matrix before you know it. And that spells doom, ladies and gentlemen. And we're financing that doom by purchasing these products, by purchasing, the latest phones and, the latest services and the like. They're using that money to build, the electric fence around us. And soon there'll be Terminators and Skynet plotting your demise. What are you going to do? You have no idea what's coming out there, ladies and gentlemen. How many people have, played chess with a computer? That was, years ago, it was kicking everybody's ass. Now imagine, giving it, the keys to the country, to the city, to law enforcement, to justice, to, medical records and the like. It is going to, trash you. And of course, the people that are, writing the code are, the people from Silicon Valley, Sodom and Gomorrah, San Francisco, and it's already looking like hell on earth over there, right? And, these people are, banning free speech. They're burning books. They're going ultra radical on you. What do you think they're going to write in the code? If you're a patriot, a conservative, a Christian, a straight person, you're going down. These people are going to make sure of it. And they're becoming a breakaway civilization. They've got all the technology. They've got all the money. They've got all the, the special interest lobbying going on in Washington, D.C. What do you got? You've just become a targeted individual. They know everything about you. They can follow you around and zap you without even having to break a sweat. It's become that easy for them these days, fully automated. There's a lot of people concerned about gang stalking and being a targeted individual and what you're getting dosed with. And that's why we recommend the EMF 390. You can see what you're getting dosed with from 0 to 10 gigahertz. Now, GQ Electronics, the company that makes these meters, is probably more well known for their Geiger counters. And we're featuring the GMC 500. It's a dual Geiger tube Geiger counter. And it's just like the EMF 390, except it picks up, that spectrum of X-rays and gamma rays. And I would recommend getting one of those too. I mean, budget for it, they're about $100 each. $109 for the EMF 390, $115 for the GMC 500 Geiger counter. And this will let you see, if you're really being targeted by microwaves, X-rays, and the like. And I think that's worth the peace of mind for a lot of people out there. Are you getting dosed? Well, I can just about guarantee you that everybody's getting dosed. Everybody that you know is getting dosed, by these death towers and the death traps that they sell you to bring into your home. The question is, how bad is it? And look, seeing for yourself is going to make a huge difference. We've gotten quite a bit of feedback from people out there, what they're getting exposed with, whether it be the routers, the Wi-Fi on their computers and the like. It's changed quite a bit. The smart meters, you'll see these huge pulses of 1,000 milliwatts every few seconds racing through your kitchen. That'll start making you ask questions and seeing what you can do about it. And there are things that you can do. You can get a little Faraday cage for the smart meter, but look, you won't get motivated to do it. This stuff is already out there, but when you can measure it with a meter, that's when you're like, oh shit, yeah, maybe I should do something. Because just 1 milliwatt per meter squared is considered extreme. And a lot of people are getting dosed by, tens, if not hundreds of milliwatts at home non-stop. Look, you need one of these meters. For $100 compared to the competition, this meter delivers. It fits in your pocket. It syncs to your phone. You can use it like a dosimeter and track your exposure for weeks and see, what you're getting dosed with on average. Look, this thing is, is a product of pure genius. And that's why we picked up on it. We contacted GQ Electronics. We arranged a special affiliate price. We negotiated $109. They're selling it for $119 on Amazon. And you can check out the reviews. I mean, people are loving it. And for $109, you get it cheaper through us, direct from the manufacturer, made in Seattle, ships worldwide. And our strongest recommendation out there is don't be a mark. Get smart. Let everybody out there about these meters, about what's going on, and help get people, basically on board with stopping the 5G. Make this an issue in your community. And if we do this in town after town, it'll be nationwide. We've got the experience of making a topic go nationwide. And this is the way to do it. Go city to city, especially with the censorship out there. It's not as easy as before, but the idea still works. Wake people up out there. Show people what they're getting dosed with a meter. And look, the charts are simple. They're universally recognized. 1 milliwatt per meter squared, is the Bio Initiative safety standard. Anything above that, you're really at risk. And when you see what people are getting dosed with these days, it's enough to make you angry. And that's what you need sometimes. You need a little juice to get you motivated. What can you do, especially when you think that, the kids and, the elderly and the like, they're getting hit the worst. And so when you think about poor little kids that are getting dosed and now they're growing horns in their heads, they're going all crazy, acting all zombie-like, this is like the perfect way to get people talking about it, because I promise you, once you get a meter, you're going to be testing everywhere. And in fact, with the EMF 390, you can drive around with it and start fox hunting for hidden death towers, hidden death traps, and the like. And we love this this RF browser mode where you can see the graphs, the bell curves of the EMF spotlights or the hot zones, and you can see when you're really at the epicenter of your local Fukushima. And the difference of people making it in and out of Fukushima or Chernobyl was having a meter. When they didn't know what they were getting exposed with at the beginning of the Chernobyl series, it's like, oh well, everything's fine. They're hyper normalizing everything. People are like puking and dying and stuff. They're like, no, everything's fine. As soon as they got the dosimeter, they're like, oh shit, ladies and gentlemen. And that's basically, that's going to be your reaction. I guarantee it. This thing will save your life in the long term. It'll add years to your life. I mean, we all got a life sentence, but this will add years to your life. And you don't want to be a target more than you have to be, especially when it comes to this radiation, because this is like, their go-to for everyone. It's easy to deploy. They can target people at will. They don't have to go to a location. They don't have to worry if you buy organic or not, or even if you live in the country or not. because these death towers are coming to you. You know, this administration has promised that every small town, every farmland is going to have 5G. That's a 3.5 gigahertz death tower, you know, in your vicinity, guaranteed. And look, the best prevention, you know, the best solution is prevention here. And if you round up enough people and bring them to City Hall and make enough noise, you can stop the deployment or curtail the deployment of 5G in your town. And as this movement grows, because it will grow, people aren't that stupid out there, you know, as this movement grows, you know, we'll start getting things done. But instead of people running around, you know, talking about who's the biggest racist out there, perhaps you should be wondering, you know, what you're getting dosed with. Because, again, like at the beginning of the Chernobyl series, they didn't know. And people were keeling over and they're like, oh, no, everything's cool. But once they could see it with a meter, once they could measure it, they're like, oh, yeah, you know, we can see what's going on. And look, again, EMF radiation messes with the immune system, the nervous system, cell membranes. It's linked to thyroid cancer, pancreatic cancers, brain cancers. We're seeing cancer clusters around schools, you know, and this is on top of all of the other eugenics programs out there. Look, you really need to limit your exposure, because what the magnetic fields do is they allow the toxins from the other eugenics programs seep into your cells more readily. And this is called magnetically assisted transfection. You can look this up for yourself. MATRA, magnetically assisted transfection. And, you know, you have to think that, you know, most of the body is made up of water, and water polarizes rather quickly. And when you start running electric fields, you know, through the air, you're polarizing, you know, basically the human body in one direction. And, you know, when you've got multiple wireless devices that are like crisscrossing polarizations, and there's always this competition of, you know, basically, you know, flipping on and off, your body turns into a dipole antenna, basically. Every cell, every bone, everything. I mean, it'd be real interesting to see what people are glowing at in that spectrum. And we want to make goggles. You know, you've heard of IR goggles or FLIR goggles that pick up infrared. We want to make goggles that, you know, pick up what's going on the commercial traffic bandwidth between, you know, let's just say 400 megahertz to a gigahertz. And, you know, if we could see that, people would flip out, really. You know, and here you got geek.com. Hell yeah, teens are growing, you know, skull horns from phone use. It's wonderful. Tell us how wonderful it is out there in the comments. Like and share. Feel free to mirror. All of the information on how to get an EMF 390 is in the video description. Be sure to check that out. It's got safety, you know, information as well. When you click the Order Now button from our product page, it brings you directly to the manufacturer. You order directly from them with our affiliate price. So make sure you've got the affiliate link from our page. Just order from our page. You go right to the manufacturer, and you get the price all set up. And look, people are loving this instrument. And like I said, check out all the information in the video description. It'll get you, you know, all sorts of interesting links for video updates, our pages, how to support our broadcast, as well as getting the EMF 390 and the GMC 500 Geiger counter. That's an excellent little device as well. And look, that's a wonderful way to fight back against this beast system, measuring what they're dosing you with and telling people about it. That's a huge act of resistance, and we can't recommend this enough. Until the next time, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to this, you are the resistance.